Paul says that praying at all times in the Spirit. Amen. Amen. With all manner of prayer. Amen. And supplication. Amen. Amen. Now I write sometimes looking at words individually because they do mean quite a lot. So Paul says in Ephesians 6:8, he says, praying at all times. So we should really pray at all times. And I'm sure our apostle of prayer, Pastor, Beata, would encourage us so much about we must pray at all times. Amen. Pray always. And at one time I remember, every days of ministry, a member of the church, and said, Pastor, what do we mean? How can we pray always? We've got so many things that we need to do. And that made me go back and really try to study what the scriptures really mean by saying pray always and at all times. But there are times when we really, so what is really prayer? Amen. Sometimes we think prayer is a time when we've got to create a time and deposit, go in a room and things like that. But when you think about it, just the way we are breathing all the time, we are always praying. Prayer can be something like that. But Paul says pray at all times. But the word here is with all prayer, with all manner of prayer. Amen. And I'll come back to that. But Philippians chapter 1, chapter 4, verse 6 also says, don't be anxious. Don't be anxious about anything. But in everything, with prayer and supplication. Amen. Amen. Prayer and supplication. With thanksgiving. Let your request be made known to God. So he mentioned in Ephesians chapter 6, he tells us with all prayer and supplication. In Philippians, he's telling us with all prayer and thanksgiving and supplication. Amen. 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 Then in 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 1, and going on from there, he says, first of all, above all things, before everything, I urge you that supplications, prayers, intercessions, and thanksgiving be made for all people, and the kings and everything. So you see that Paul, the apostle, the man who lived and died in prayer, the man who prayed even for others when he was in prison, amen, instead of praying for himself, he's taught us a lot about prayer. But you see, from these scriptures, I've also come to understand that Paul categorically told us that there are different types of prayers. Amen. 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 That there are prayers called prayers, and there are those called supplications, which I later on discovered supplications means petitions. It's the same. And there are those prayers called intercessions, Brother Singogo. And there are those prayers called thanksgiving. So the moment I discovered this, I made an effort to try to understand these types of prayers. So when I pray appropriately. Amen. And it's worked for me. I found it to be very, very effective. And then within that, I've also discovered that there are certain categories of these prayers that tend to bind God to His word, leaving Him with no choice but to honor what He has said. Amen. 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 Praise God. Amen. Because if you want to pray for healing, when you are meant to be blessing your dinner, okay, and everybody else is waiting, there's good dinner on the table, and then you go into your intercession when we just ask you to pray for and bless the food, you then realize that first and foremost, it's not edifying anybody. It's like playing sport. These kids here, understand when we talk about sport. If I said to everyone to say, let's play sport, Nobody who likes sport to say, yeah, that's great, great stuff, Apostle Ngambi, let's play sport. But the next question is, what sport are we going to play? And so somebody will come up and say, well, let's play football. Okay, great, let's play football. Now, it will be, or rather, let me put it this way. Would it be strange that once we have made our decision to play football, then we see somebody begin to bring a basketball board into the pitch? That would be strange. Because we just said, let's play football. And then, wouldn't it be strange if we see somebody begin to bring in a volleyball net? What we need are football goals. And then, more importantly also, we need the rules to play football. Because you can't play football with basketball rules. And many years ago, the Holy Spirit, I wish I could be teaching on prayer, but the Holy Spirit didn't tell me to do that. Many times ago, the Holy Spirit brought this revelation to me that, look, if you want to intercede with intercession rules. If you want to supplicate with supplication rules. If you want to pray prayers, pray prayers with prayers rules. If you want to pray prayers of thanksgiving, pray those prayers with thanksgiving rules. Amen. And it makes our prayers more effective. Now, very quickly, for example, what is a supplication? Oh, wow. A supplication, by the way, is a legal term. Those of you in here who have studied law, I'm not a lawyer and I'm not very little about law, but supplication is a petition. Some of the words for supplication are, to supplicate is to request, is to invoke, is to suit, like a lawsuit, is to petition, is to appeal, is to entreat. Now, you don't do these things without first and foremost having the appropriate law that relates to this. So whenever you have a case in court and you have a lawyer, what the lawyer will do is he will look into the laws of the land that relate to your case and study those laws very carefully concerning your case. Then he will go before the judge and say, Judge, according to the law of the land, the judge who has been appointed by the land cannot go, and he has studied the law of the land, cannot overrule the law of the land. So the judge is not overruling your case. The judge is judging against or for the law of the land. So your chances to win the case depend on how well your lawyer has studied the law to present before the judge. That's why these judges, beloved, have been trained in such a way that they don't look at people's faces to feel pity. Anyone can cry and weep in the dock, and the judge may even be aware there is a crime that has been committed here, a heinous crime. Somebody has lost somebody who they love so much. But judges are trained never to go with emotions or pity, but to go by what the law says. Amen. That's why even people, that's why there's what they call miscarriage of justice. Just because your representative, the lawyer, has not presented the law properly to the judge. Even though everybody knows he did this. If the law, it's the same thing. So when you are praying prayers of petition, beloved, it brings us to this. No the word. Amen?
Amen.
Know the word. Know the promises of God. Amen. Because the Bible says the promises of God are yes and amen. So when you are praying prayers of petition, it's not prayers of begging, oh, I'm just me, God, feel pity on me. No. None of you were there when God spoke this. None of us induced him to promise this. It's a decision he made on his own.
Amen.
And said, one day when my son called Sam comes upon this and he believes me, I'll have nothing to stop me apart from fulfilling what I'm saying. He did this before the foundation of the earth.
Amen.
Before you were even born.
Amen.
Just believe it. So when you pray prayers of petition, you go before him like you are a lawyer. So there are times, beloved, and I've said this as if it's a bit funny. It's not funny. If my wife is here, she'll tell you. There are certain times when certain things are happening. And I'm not a lawyer, I'm an engineer. But I know lawyers, when they are presenting cases, they dress up very well. There are certain times, and my wife will tell you this, when I literally dress up and I close that bedroom door, and I bring before me the word of God. I underline where God has said. If you do this, I guarantee. And I pace around my room like a little cheeky lawyer, solicitor. And I say, Father, I was not there when you wrote this. But somehow, by your grace, I have come across it. You wrote here, and you said, this is your word. You are reading the word back to him.
Amen.
That is a petition prayer, and he can't go against his word. That's a petition prayer. You are present. The way lawyers walk in court, according to article. Your judge, according to article what and what, constitution what and what, the law says, and the judge says, here is a solicitor who understands the law of the land. And then your solicitor comes in and says, they just ask you one question and goes, you lose the case. That's why people pay for good lawyers. It's because the courts go on what is declared.
Amen.
Hallelujah.
Amen.
So, please don't pray prayers anyhow. If you're looking for finances, go for promises of finances in the Word of God.
Amen.
And hold them before God. Hallelujah.
Amen.
Glory be to God. God is not going to charge you to be cheeky. No. In fact, the Bible says we enter his courts with boldness. Why? Well, it is him who has gifted me with his righteousness. He says, you are not my righteous. You and I can talk. You can challenge me on my word. He says, prove me. That is a prayer of petition. You challenge God on his word. So don't you pray prayers of petition when you don't know what the promise is. That's why, beloved, Pentecostals, come on. Let's get to know the word. And let's get to know the promises. It's the promises that God honors. God does not, and God is not entitled to guarantee you a miracle. But one thing he will guarantee you is his promises.
Amen.
I know healing is my promise.
Amen.
It may not come like a miracle, but I know I am healed. So therefore, when I go to him, I tell him, it doesn't matter whether I'm going to the hospital or I'll stay at home, but one thing I know, I was healed according to your promises. And Jesus said it is finished. Standing on his promise.
Amen.
It is his promise, not mine.
Amen.
It's not even my wife's promise. It's not man's promise. It is his promise. And he never delegates on his promises.
Amen.
We challenge him on his word. I have come to understand, Pastor, that prayers of petition achieve a lot. simply because it's got nothing to do. You may not even have a faith as big as a mountain. But if you can find that promise in here, amen, hallelujah. If you can find that promise in here, and read it back to the promiser, and leave it to him, who knows how to fulfill it. You see, intercessions are prayers where now God has given you a position before him. You know, we are sat with Jesus at the right hand of the Father, and we rule with him. Intercessions are not prayers where you're trying to get God involved. An intercession is where God is saying, this is where I have left something into your hands to impose, to change, to declare. That's an intercession. I don't go into an intercessor and seeking help from God. I go into an intercessor as somebody who has been given power and authority to decree, to declare, to speak, to co-create. I am now putting on my God nature anointing. That is intercession. Hallelujah. You don't want to intercede. Oh, Father God, oh, have mercy on behalf of Pastor Beata. Oh, no. If I am going to stand on her behalf, I am going to stand as if God himself is standing on her behalf. That is intercession. Hallelujah. I am declaring. I am declaring. I am causing what's already settled in heaven. His will to be done in this situation. And God says, whatever you decree. And how can I decree? Because he has empowered me to do so. He's given me authority to do so. Hallelujah. Amen. That's intercession. Knowing who you are. Petition is challenging God on his word. It's going to happen to me. This is your word. I believe you. Intercession is knowing who you are. Hallelujah. Amen. And God is pleased when he sees his sons and daughters step out to who he has made to be. The other prayer of thanksgiving is so powerful. It pleases God. Amen. And again, this is another thing I'll tell you. Mama Philby was here, she will tell you. I have many prayer requests that I can make to God. Many. I can finish this book just writing, God, give me this, give me this, give me this. I won't have enough time to list all the prayer requests that I've got. But clearly, if you pray with me, clearly, and you even know that I need this, would you hear me praying prayers of give me, 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 give me? I stopped praying prayers like that long time ago. Why? Because I know already it's the Father's pleasure to give me. And he has already given. Hallelujah. The Bible says, even before I open my mouth, he has answered. Even before I say it, he has heard me. So all what I do then is, by faith, I just go into thanksgiving. Thank you, Father, for meeting all my needs. And I spend time thanking him. Thanking God expresses your faith.